Hey everyone, my name is Dan Bowers. I'm the manager of cloud solutions here at CMS Communications, and today we are joined by Zoom to talk about the Mitel and Zoom strategic partnership. Now, I wanted to give a mini speech here at the beginning, just to get you guys some additional information about what's going on. So I'll just start off with who CMS Communications is. A lot of you may already know who we are, but CMS Communications has been around for about 40 years, and we're a nationwide installer of technology and communication systems. We have direct relationships with hardware manufacturers such as Fortinet and Poly and Juniper, and we have engineers and technicians who can project manage and support the communication solutions through our direct relationships with providers like Mitel and Zoom. So we know the ins and outs of these systems, and because of our expertise, that's why we're able to host this webinar today with them. You have to be kind of a long-standing certified partner like us to be able to do something like this. Now, many of you may be wondering what is happening with Mitel and how does Zoom's partnership fit in? So here's the brass tacks on it. Mitel is the second largest UC provider in the world, and acquisitions such as ShoreTel, Unify, and Oasis, well, these kind of led to a need to, let's call it, to optimize their capital structure. I'll put it that way. It's a restructuring. It's a voluntary protection to reposition them for growth and long-term sustainability. As they have said themselves up to this point, they are open for business. Mitel is a pioneer in the communications industry and has continuously strengthened their portfolio to meet the needs of the evolving society. Now, because of this, in my opinion, this strategic partnership with Zoom was kind of a predestined event. This is not a move to event. I mean, it can be. You can just move to Zoom if you want. That not a problem. Go ahead. Please be my guest. But this was more of a pre-planned hybrid event that combines the best of Mitel with the best of Zoom. Gives you the ability to have the best of both worlds, essentially. Now, with this new partnership, your business can harness cloud scalability and innovation by leveraging Zoom for cloud delivered meetings, AI capabilities, and chat functionality, and Mitel for premise-based unified communications, which will allow you to retain control over your critical telephony functions. This hybrid cloud solution it's designed to embrace innovation without sacrificing your control. Now, the Zoom and hybrid solution offers key benefits such as flexibility, allowing businesses to migrate to the cloud at their own pace and maintain a hybrid environment for as long as needed. Additionally, Zoom's AI-driven collaboration tools, they foster, how do I say, like innovation, and they enable businesses to stay ahead of the curve. You're not going to be stuck at this wall. They're going to be continually rolling out new things for you guys. So with this solution, businesses retain control over the mission-critical telephony functions. But lastly, the hybrid model, it's cost effective. It allows you guys to maximize your existing investments with, let's say, your Mitel hard phones, while leveraging the cost benefits of Zoom's cloud solutions. Now, for a long time, people have thought that cloud would replace all premise-based systems. That may be the case in the future, like way in the future, but right now, that's just not happening. Cloud delivered systems are, however, growing faster than premise based solutions, but a majority of users are still on prem. Yes, the cloud solutions offer more advanced features, especially AI, free support, and consolidation of your tech, like combining your system and your service together into one platform. But on premise solutions offer full control over their systems with a little bit more predictable costs. These models have significant differences in terms of communication style, but at the end of the day, a hybrid solution coalesces the best of both worlds into one platform. Now, some of these changes and some of these connections, they were predictable. History will tell us that there have been partnerships before, but what is new is that this hybrid cloud technology and partnerships like Mitel and Zoom are the active standard for nowadays communication stacks. So today we're going to hear from Eric Camelli, our Zoom channel manager, and John Nelms, our Zoom senior engineer who previously worked at Mitel and ShoreTel. I can't think of a better group to like discuss this Zoom Mitel partnership than this. And at the end, we implore you to reach out to CMS directly. You can reach us at cloud@cmsc.com. Most of you already have our emails, but cloud@cmsc.com. And we will follow up with you via email and with a recording of today's meeting. As project managers here at CMS, we're kind of like the overarching project management firm. We work with you to do discovery, to get your scope of work, your infrastructure, assess your integrations, and ensure kind of a seamless process from cradle to grave. So today, this is what we're talking about. We'll introduce you to Zoom. We'll showcase a light demo, and then we'll talk about the Mitel and Zoom hybrid environment, and then we'll have a Q&A session afterwards. So with that being said, Eric, tell them who Zoom is.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. And thanks, everyone, for joining today. My name is Eric Camelli. I'm based out of Kansas City. I've been with Zoom 3 years, and I assist our trusted partners like CMS Communication. Without our partners like CMS Communication, you wouldn't know or hear about some of the things you're going to hear today. So before I pass it over to the wonderful John Nelms and he gets into the Mitel Zoom partnership specifically, I want to take a couple minutes to tell you about the Zoom story because it's important and it's kind of neat. If you haven't heard of our CEO, Eric Yuhan, he came from a small company some of you might have heard of called WebEx. And if you didn't know, Eric was employee number 15. All right, and so big old WebEx, Eric was employee number 15. He rose through the ranks and eventually became the VP of engineering. And Eric was adamant to WebEx leadership that they need to rebuild their platform instead of acquiring and building on and acquiring and building on and making solutions work together. His advice is, hey, WebEx, we need to rebuild from the ground up. Well, Eric's advice fell on deaf ears, okay? So after 10 years of Eric being at WebEx, he left WebEx and founded Zoom in 2011, specifically built from the ground up with video first in mind. Now, I want to say that again because when I started here 3 years ago in my training, built from the ground up with video first in mind was beat into my head. And the reason is because Eric realized that if we can handle the bandwidth of the complexities of video, then everything else will fall in line easily. All right. So the platform, most of you probably know, is for Zoom meetings. If you guys had to name how many products that we had, most people say 7, 8, 9 products. Can you believe we have over 50 products? All right. Now look at the pandemic. We pretty much helped hold the world together, jokingly, not jokingly. You know, our families, our churches, kids in school, our kids were using Zoom meetings, and Zoom quickly became a verb. You know, I'm hopping on a Zoom call. But if you fast forward today, customers are still using Zoom, that one pane of glass that all of our kids and churches use, that same window. All these other companies are using today, but not just for meetings. Customers like Walmart, Target, Major League Baseball is using Zoom. JP Morgan Chase Bank has about 375,000 users, PepsiCo, and a whole bunch of others today. And as you'll hear today, when John touches on the Mitel Zoom partnership, there's a lot more to the platform than meetings, all right? Such as, if you didn't know, Zoom Phone. We have over 8 million paid users on Zoom Phone. We have Zoom Contact Center, a fully baked contact center. And for those of you familiar with contact center, should be excited because if you know, most contact centers are not built on the same Zoom or on the same phone platform. So you usually have a contact center and a phone platform, and if something goes wrong, they're pointing at each other, where our phone and contact center platform are built on the same platform. All right, and then just to name a few more, Team Chat, which rivals like Slack or Jabber. We have a native scheduler that would rival like Calendly. We have calendar, email, whiteboards, docs, and would you not believe that we just released Fax yesterday? The technology that just won't die. We had to because our customers need it. All right. So all these things, when you're hearing all these products, think, you know, how can I condense my billing? How can I have all these awesome platforms in one and condense my billing? So with that said, Dan, I want to thank you again and the CMS team for having us on. If it wasn't for you and partners like you, the word would never get out to all of our customers on what the Zoom platform is capable of. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to the infamous Zoom Solutions Engineer, Mr. John Nelms.
Thanks, Eric and Dan. Appreciate it. Eric mentioned, yeah, there's a lot of products. Um, there's, I don't know that anyone has an official count, Eric, but 50 is a good number. The cool thing is it's part of a single platform, one platform. Zoom only has one platform, and that's the point I think to drive home, especially for me, Dan. As you mentioned, I have a history with ShoreTel. I have a history with Mitel. I was a solutions engineer. I think we called them solutions architects back then. But whatever you want to call me, I was in charge of product, and that which for that basically meant that I had to know all the products and the platforms and everything. There was a lot of platforms that that Mitel had, and a lot of those were by virtue of acquisition. Some of them were by virtue of just the legacy hardware that was created by Mitel. Um, but Zoom only has one platform. There's really just the Zoom platform. The same thing. If today you joined this meeting from your desktop client, or if you joined it from even your mobile device, if you've got your handy mobile device and that's where you've joined from, if you're joining from those devices, that is the platform. It's the same platform we're talking about integrating with between Mitel and Zoom Workplace. So let's get into the weeds a little bit. We're not going to go too far. It's not going to be a super technical conversation, so don't bail on me because you think it's going to be too technical. It won't be. I promise. But I do encourage you to ask questions here. You can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. You can also use the chat feature if you'd like to chat. Keep in mind if you chat, it chats it to everyone potentially. So Q&A just goes to us if you've got any questions. Let's talk for a moment about this transformation that we've been talking about here in the last 10 minutes or so. There's been a lot, and I started at ShoreTel back in 2009. Before that, I was with a partner. Right out of college, I was with a partner, and we sold a Avaya IP office, a Avaya partner. And then we picked up
Great.
ShoreTel, and I started working on ShoreTel. They moved one of their offices to Austin, which is where I'm located. And then I came to Mitel by the way of acquisition, and so that was 15 years ago here. So that in this chart of where we are, there was a lot. I mean, you know all the hardware, you know all of the phone systems that we used to, we put them in a phone closet and we would run hardware out to all the desks. And then things kind of moved out to the mobile device and we started using more in the way of mobility. And then we accelerated our cloud transition during the pandemic because people were trying to work from home and we needed easy, flexible solutions to do so. And that's where you may have started to hear from Zoom is during the pandemic, right? There was a huge explosion of Zoom during that time. And now we're in this new frontier of the buzzword of the last 5 years, which is AI. Really, the last 2 years, right? The AI revolution that we're in, and Zoom is putting a lot of effort and energy into the AI side of things now as well. And that's where I think there's this strategic partnership really hits the ground, where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, for Mitel, because there hasn't been a tremendous push for that collaborative AI type message with Mitel. It's been largely Mitel's the communications platform, but there's not too much in the way of AI over there. And so with Zoom, there is now this new possibility to utilize all of the AI functionality, all of the other great features, all the products that Eric mentioned, which, by the way, Eric, great job running down all of those products, at least most of those products that we have now, all of which feature AI. Um, but it doesn't have to happen. You don't have to completely rip and replace a phone system in order to make this happen. I think that's the big message here with Mitel and Zoom partnership. And this is actually a complete partnership between these two companies. I think it should be noted that this is not something we're just that Dan, Eric, and I are like, hey, this would be really cool if we like, brought all of our Mitel customers onto a call and talked about how they could move to Zoom. No, it's not. That's not what this is. This is actually a partnership between my previous employer, Mitel, and my current employer, Zoom. So it is interesting of the history there. This change doesn't have to happen all at once. The cool thing is you are able to kind of pick and choose what you want to migrate over to Zoom. Um, and some of you probably already have, some of the folks on this call probably already have Zoom accounts today, and that's completely fine as well. So if you have Mitel and Zoom together, perfect. This is going to allow us to continue to add to what we can do to make a better experience for end users. And so there's a lot of forces that are driving the change. I mentioned AI, I mentioned cloud. Hybrid work has become the standard where we're going, want to work from anywhere. Take me, for example, during the pandemic, I bought an RV and traveled around the country and worked in an RV. So I got some firsthand experience. And I would imagine many of your users are the same way. Like they want to be able to work from home, from the road, from a hotel, anywhere they are, they want to have that mobility. And so this really enables us to empower those users with the tools that they need between our existing premises based phone system and a cloud collaboration platform like Zoom. And it allows us to use both pretty flexibly. And we'll talk about that here. So, this hybrid architecture is something that our engineering team, both sides, Zoom and Mitel, have been working on feverishly since the announcement. I think it was back in like November, we made the announcement, October, November, somewhere in there. And during that time, and you can go back and look at, announcements that have been made about the capabilities between Mitel and Zoom. But our engineering teams are, like I said, they're feverishly working to make sure that we get the most feature capability between the pairing of the two platforms, or really, I should say multiple platforms, because Mitel does have quite a few different phone systems out there that we will work with. And you can migrate to Zoom at your own pace. And there's a variety of different ways that you can actually migrate over to Zoom while still having the same experience for your end users. They can still continue to use their Mitel handsets if they've got those. And we're really adding on to that functionality. It's more like, hey, did you know you could do this now, rather than a rip and replace. And there's a lot of capability here that we're going to give them. So we want to make sure that we kind of incrementally turn some things on for those end users so they're not overwhelmed with everything that they can now do on day one with Zoom Workplace. And as we mentioned, Eric said, here's some of those products. This is just the icons over on the left of some of those products that he mentioned. I feel like I should have had this slide up for you, Eric, when you were talking about everything that we can do. There's a lot.
If
There's a
everyone
ton.
only knew.
I don't think there's 50 icons on there, but within each of these products on that wheel on the left, there's kind of subcategories of what each thing can do. And I know it's a little bit vague just to see icons there, but the point is it's one platform that Zoom has, and Mitel is powering the phone piece of that. So this is something if you've got a Mitel phone system today, if you've got a PBX in place, premises-based PBX, or even a cloud-based PBX, and you want to use the Zoom functions of the platform, this allows you to do so. This allows you to extend the Mitel investment that you have and continue to use it while integrating directly with Zoom. And we've streamlined it so that it makes it super easy to not only enable that integration, but also to utilize that integration. So if you're familiar with the Zoom client, if you've got it downloaded on your desktop, there's simply a phone icon that we add to it. And that phone icon then becomes your Mitel phone within the Zoom client. As simple as that. And Zoom, hopefully for meetings, the Hollywood Squares style meetings that you've been on before, where you've got a bunch of talking heads, or webinars like we're on right now, where you've got my talking head. Apologies, but the platform that we use here at Zoom, the platform that Zoom for, is a very widely accepted, secure, reliable communications platform. You can find all of our certifications and attestations, easy for me to say, all of the regulatory standards that are out there. You can find those on our website. So if you've got any questions about what we support, whether it's compliance related, HIPAA compliance, SOC 2 compliance, whatever your question is, most of those certifications can be listed or are listed on our public website. So how do we do this? So we talk about the client itself, whether that's your desktop client, your mobile device, your desktop, doesn't matter which one it is. We have an integration opportunity in each of those circumstances. And I think of for a lot of users, they've already probably got this on their desktop. Whether it's shadow IT or what, they've probably joined a Zoom meeting and they've probably downloaded the client already. What the integration looks like is there's a couple of ways that we can make this work. But the cool thing is it's a native experience within the Zoom ecosystem. So you're not hopping between applications. You're not having to go to one place for your phone and another place for your meetings. It's all embedded in the same Zoom client. That means I can now sync my directories from Mitel to Zoom and vice versa. That means that if I have this hybrid type approach where I've got certain users that are using Zoom exclusively and certain users that are using Mitel primarily, those two directories can marry up as one. That means that I can initiate calls to Mitel users directly out of my Zoom client using team chat. So Zoom has its own team chat built into the client already. So you can chat with users using Zoom and then upgrade that chat to a voice or video call if you want to. And the voice call would go over Mitel for those users if they wanted. Gives them a single sign-on experience, single desktop client, single mobile client. And I will tell you, we've got, and Eric knows this too, because we we upgrade all the time. But the pace of innovation at Zoom is crazy. It is literally the fastest innovative company that I've ever worked for in terms of updates, releases, things that we are adding to the product on a regular basis. As a solutions engineer, it is difficult for me to stay on top of everything that is being released on a regular basis. Somehow we manage to do it, but there's a lot that we are continually innovating.
And John, if
So
you don't mind me jumping in just real quick. So,
please,
if anyone has any questions during this, please feel free to use the chat icon. We are going to answer questions after this is over, but I did see a raised hand, so go ahead and throw it in the chat, and then we'll be able to get to that. And then just one other thing I wanted to make mention based on what you're saying, John, is that here's the situation that I find most useful for this is that, hey, the familiarity and or the familiarity of your guys' current Mitel phones stays there. Keep them there. All you can pick up the handset, make a phone call, but then you can also use Zoom Video and integrate it there. You can also use Zoom Phone on the soft phone at the Starbucks across the street or at home like I'm doing, or you can text somebody through this or chat and fax. So there's a lot of integrations here that are going to be very useful for people without making it scary. Put it that way.
And Dan, on top of that, if you don't mind me saying, condensed billing. So there's a lot of people on here that are paying for a note app, they're paying for Jabber, they're paying for Slack, they're paying for Calendly. When you merge these systems together, Zoom will give you all that in one platform, all included. So, all right.
All good points. Thank you. I'm told the chat icon is locked, so if you can't chat, just use Q&A. You'll see it down there. Thanks for letting us know that. So let's talk integration. Let's talk what you get. Let's talk what in the world does all of this mean? So there's a lot of opportunities for integration here because there's a lot of overlap on what both of our companies do. Phone wise, do you want to use your same existing desk phone, your Mitel handset that you have sitting on your desk? If so, there's a lot of phone features that we support on day one, and that is obviously making, receiving calls, seeing call appearances on there, get hold. You can conference, you can add calls, you can merge calls, you can transfer calls, you can get voicemail, you can get your history on the phone, you get your call forwarding. A lot of all the same features that you had with that desk phone are still supported. Keep in mind that if you're taking the approach of integrating your phone system to your client, your desk client, the phone itself is still registering over to your existing PBX, your existing system, your existing phone system that you have in place. That phone is still registering to it. The integration occurs between the phone system and Zoom in the cloud. And so the capabilities that you get within the client mirror that of what's on the phone, as well as you're going to get additional workplace features that you get with Zoom. Things like I want to move this phone call to a face-to-face video meeting. I want to do calendar integration for my meetings. I want to do presence. I want to show my presence in real time to other users, show the status of your user to other users. You'll get all of our AI features. We call it AI Companion at Zoom. You'll get access to team chat, which is great. Love how easy it is to use Zoom Team Chat. It is the primary method of communication for everyone here at Zoom and for a lot of organizations because team chat is a little less invasive than calling a meeting or a phone call or even an email. And then let's talk about how that looks. So got a little screenshot animation here, if you'll notice, because if I'm in team chat and I'm using that usual client, that familiar client that everyone uses for Zoom, I go into my team chat icon across the top there. It's a little bit hard to see. And when I click the phone icon, it just brings up my phone dialer and calls that user directly. It does not leave the client. It does not require I launch another application. It is using Zoom to make that call to our Mitel phone system. So this is completely integrated. You're not having to go out of this application. What phones and what systems are supported? Because that's the million-dollar question. Do you see your phone system on this list? Do you see your device on this list? So as of at here in the next, we'll say for the foreseeable future, these are the PBXs that will be supported. That includes OpenScape Voice, OpenScape 4K. I'm not sure why it says Voice 4K. It's just OpenScape 4K. My Voice Business, My Voice 5000, and My Voice MX1. Now, that said, those PBXs, those are the devices, those are the systems that we will support integration into Zoom with. Now there's if you look to the right, there's phones as well that are supported. And there's a couple of different ways that we can support these phones. We can kind of get creative here. So just because your phone system is not over on the left doesn't mean that we can't integrate. If you look over on the right side and you see your devices there in this list, we can actually connect these devices up natively to Zoom's platform using Zoom Phone. So we would take the integration of the PBX out of the picture and just reuse those devices to connect directly to Zoom Phone. So there's a number of ways that we integrate. And there's no right or wrong answer to this either. This is where we would want you to come to us and have a conversation individually, one-on-one with us, so we can actually determine what that integration looks like and what best suits your needs. Because there's a lot of, as you saw, there's a lot of different devices that we support. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about integrating those devices.
Now, John, if you don't mind me jumping in again on that last page, I know we don't have every answer yet to the devices, but there are a couple. This is a good time to answer maybe a couple of questions that I'm seeing in the chat here. So, is there, I don't see that the 3300 series or the 400 series, the Connect versions, are in there now. Does that mean that they won't work? And if so, and maybe this is also a question for Eric, is there a possibility where we can do some type of a trade up, trade in, or an upgrade path?
Yeah, I
As
think
far
there's
as the
always
upgrade
opportunity
path,
there. Go ahead, Eric.
yeah, as far as the upgrade path, not of as of right now, I've not heard of an upgrade path. It's all been focused on using the existing equipment. But that's a fair question, and don't count it out. This is all fluid. But John, as far as the specific 3300 phone, do you know the answer to that?
The 3300 system is not currently not on the supported list.
Okay. But just to let everyone know who is asking those questions, that's also why you have CMS here as your partner of record to access this Zoom Mitel partnership. We have specific deals and situations, maybe some trade-ins, maybe some buybacks, some things that we can do on our side on your behalf to help you move up, upgrade, or integrate. So it's not an off the table question just because they're not listed here. It's just a simple, how are we going to do that? Let's figure that out. Put it that way.
Right.
All right, moving right along here. So when we talk about integrating those devices and those systems across different platforms, there's obviously some considerations there with what actually are the capabilities for those devices and those systems. We looked at some of the phone functionality, but the idea is, and Eric touched on this, but what really to me resonates is taking a limited set of functionality that you can do today with what is a communication system and start to evolve the broader picture. Did you know, for instance, that Zoom has email, calendar, scheduler? Did you know that we have those things built into the client? So you could have one client for your email, for your calendaring, and for your productivity directly embedded into the client. And when you start to add the phone piece of it that you already leverage with Mitel, you've got this capability now to use the best of both worlds. We have actually extended our AI product, we call it AI Companion, throughout the entire platform. And so there's you'll see AI kind of built into our meetings. You'll see it built our uh, into our Docs product, our email product, our chat client, our whiteboard. It's pretty much prolific throughout the entire thing. And there's kind of this universal sign that we use for AI across the industry. It seems like it's this 4-point star you see over there on the far left. That AI companion functionality is extended throughout the entire thing. The other cool thing about Zoom is we have this giant marketplace that integrates with a ton of different applications. And so if you've got some applications you're using today, Salesforce, like a CRM, if you've got, even if you're running, a lot of folks I noticed are running Teams these days for chat, and that's what their primary client is. Yes, we integrate with that as well. So there's a ton of different integrations that are out there, and I always encourage, if you've got a specific product that you want to integrate with, that you'd like to see if it ties into Zoom, then go to marketplace.zoom.us. You will find a long list of everything that we support there. There's some 2,700 plus applications within there. And within our AI stack that we talk about, the important thing to remember, because I know AI buzzword, but also a privacy concern for a lot of organizations. If you don't have AI enabled today, it's probably because of some of those security concerns around AI. And so I always like to point out with Zoom AI Companion, Zoom does not train on any customer data. So everything that we get as part of kind of a data input to us for AI, none of that is used for training. And we use a federated model, meaning that we don't necessarily stick to, you've heard of OpenAI, you've heard of Anthropic, you've heard of these different AI providers, language models, so to speak, out there. We do not hitch our wagon to just one. We're actually federated amongst multiple. And we made it really easy to use across the entire platform. So it's included at no extra cost as part of this. So when you get a Zoom Workplace license, which is required for this integration, so if you want to turn on these services from Zoom, you'll have to have a Zoom Workplace license. You'll get AI Companion included at no extra cost. So for all those users, they'll just get this feature at no charge. And we've just released.
That's a pretty
Oh, go
huge
ahead.
point there, John. Most AI providers are using it's free, but only so many interactions. And I think that's a huge point. A lot of our competitors, like Copilot, is not free at Microsoft. So that AI being built into our entire platform, where I can ask it right now what the weather is outside in Kansas City, or I could say who is John Nelms and who is his boss and what is his phone number internally, and just use that unlimited without without unlimited interactions. I think that's a huge point. And
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
gonna say one more. I'm gonna say one more thing. If you haven't hopped on the AI train, because I wasn't for a while, even though I work at Zoom, I feel like AI is overused, and it's an overused term. And I think
Well, it's
Zoom,
everywhere now as well. Like you
it's
see it on
everywhere
everything.
now. And I just watched a video, and I said to my friend the other day when we were at dinner, I said, we need to get on this AI train now before we're left behind and we don't know how to use it. And when I say the other day, a couple months ago, but if you're not on the AI train, start learning, educating yourself, using it, get used to it. And then when you're using ChatGPT and you can't ask it any more questions because you've used up your interactions, then just open up Zoom and go from there.
This right here, what you're looking at on your screen, folks, is the fastest path to get there. If you're new to AI, this is the fastest way to get there, to enable your users, hands down, because there's not an additional add-on. It's just embedded in the product. So once you get Zoom, you get this functionality. So, and there's a lot of ways that we do it. There's a ton of different ways. Once you've added Workplace, once you've added this to the Mitel implementation, your users will easily catch on to this because they've got this functionality. It's over on the right side of the client. So remember, we're still using the client for Mitel phone. So they're sitting in the client to use their Mitel phone right now. And now they've got this side panel that says AI Companion. You see the little animation there on the screen to the right. And this can be, as Eric mentioned, you could ask it the weather outside if you wanted to, but there's a lot more to it than that. You can have it summarize meetings for you, summarize chats for you, compose chats and emails for you as well. Coming soon, we'll have some great new agentic AI features. If that's a word you're not familiar with, get ready for it because it's coming. It's a fast train. It's going to allow us to basically have an assistant that provides a lot more capability, like, hey, I want it to schedule meetings for me and set up things for me. So there's a lot to what AI can do. Um, and And extending this capability to your end users all in one client makes it a lot more focused. It makes it more impactful. It makes it, it gives this ability to really not have the distraction of pulling away into different applications every time you want to do something. It really does make a difference. It makes a big difference at the end of the day. So when we talk about all of the functions that Eric mentioned at the onset of the call, you think about how we leverage our interactions. And when I think of how my day to day is, a lot of it is creating meetings, showing up to meetings, and then acting upon those meetings. And so if you've got one client, one desktop client to do all of those things for you, including your phone, taking those interactions and then being able to easily act upon anything that is when one system is aware of everything that another system is doing, it makes a huge difference. And I'll give you a case in point. One of the features we just came out with yesterday, I think internally, we turned this on yesterday for us at Zoom. Eric and I were in a meeting, and we were chatting about, I think we were chatting about my internet connection, Eric. And I said something like, I need to switch to my backup internet connection because my internet connection is terrible. And so I have to have a backup internet connection. It's a terrible problem to have. But so I mentioned this to Eric kind of in passing, and it automatically took that as a task item for me and put it in my list of tasks. So we can start to take, using AI, a list of things that you're talking about in your calls, assuming you've enabled this on your account. You don't have to enable it because it creeps a lot of people out. But you can turn this on and it'll actually take those tasks and list them item by item for you while we're in a call like this, while it's being analyzed like this. And so people don't realize these things exist until they're actually there and how much they actually help you in your day to day. Eric mentioned a lot of these platform products. You're going to get access to them. You'll get access to Whiteboard, so you can eliminate that spend if you're paying for Mural or Miro or any of the whiteboard applications. Some of them are like $12 a month for users, and they're paying for them. We have a new feature called Zoom Clips. I love this feature, and you'll get access to that. Zoom Docs. It's a full-scale doc client within the Zoom client. Notes and surveys, all included at no additional charge. You get workspaces included as part of the solution as well. You've got the ability to use our digital signage, Zoom Rooms, which is set up for conference rooms. We have a lot of great things for people getting back into the office. If if everyone hasn't fully returned to the office, then in your organization, then you may be behind the curve a little bit because a lot of people are back in the office 5 days a week. And some companies like Zoom are kind of a mix between the two, where you go into the office a couple days a week. And one of the reasons that we came out with what's called workspace reservation is because a lot of offices have this flexible workspace approach to where you walk into the office, you reserve a workspace, and you're able to sit down at that desk for the day, and then you check out when you're done. And so that capability is included with some of our workplace licenses as well. So there's a ton of stuff that's designed for your organization, things that you probably hadn't thought about Zoom doing. You know, I mentioned email calendar. Did you know we do visitor management? Yes, we can print badges when you walk into an office. Um, you can do schedulers, things like that. There's just a ton of stuff that Zoom allows is really allowing you to do now with this integration directly from Mitel to Zoom. The management of this is streamlined so that we've minimized the necessity to go into separate admin clients to do certain things. We've put as much management as we could within the Zoom administration portal. And so all of that is super easy to access. You log in and then you're able to pretty much change anything you need on the Zoom system. We have one administration client. There's not multiple out there. Um, and it's when it at the end of the day, most of what we're doing on the Zoom client side, you saw the wheel and how Mitel was just the phone piece. Most of everything is administered directly from the Zoom client. There is the Zoom client in dark mode over on the left that says user device on it. Here's how we're connecting to that PBX, that Mitel PBX out there. So we're using Mitel Cloud Link. If you haven't heard of this, that's something CMS can help facilitate. It's really intended to be the liaison between Zoom and Mitel. So you will need a Cloud Link. You'll need Cloud Link in order to actually make this work with those PBXs listed here, if you choose to go that route. There's a hybrid route as well, which looks like this. So if you've got certain users that are using Zoom and they're using Zoom for phone as well, they can continue to use they can continue to use Zoom phone while other users are using Mitel as PBX. And so this gives us the ability to call between those systems. This is a hybrid connectivity between the systems here through our own bring your own PBX method, BYOP we call it. And calls are sent over a TLS SIP connection, a trunk between Zoom and the Mitel SBC. So that's another mechanism we can use to connect. And then the third way, I don't even think it's listed here. I thought it was, but it's not. And that is using native Zoom phone. So you can use those existing Mitel handsets, completely eliminate the Mitel PBX, and go directly to Zoom with your Zoom phone. The phone itself, the phone endpoint will register directly to Zoom if you choose to go that third way. And I anticipate, those devices that you saw, we'll continue to add to the list. If you ever have a question about supported devices of Zoom, here's a little life hack for you. Go to Google, type in supported Zoom phone hardware, and you'll see a list there of everything that we support. So I want to make sure we have time for questions. Here's some of the frequently asked questions. I'll leave this up while I answer questions that have come in. What have we got, guys?
Yeah,
What's on the
Well, I've
list?
answered a few, but I need you on some of these.
All
yeah.
right, all right. Let's
There's a
do it.
couple that I saw that even I was interested in. I'll just start at the top and say, hey, they've got a server for MyCollab and for the voicemail server. Can we take those voicemails and move them over just like we do the contacts or the MyCollab? How does that,
Yeah,
can that
so
happen?
couple of questions there. One, and I've seen this question asked a couple of different ways. Can can I use Zoom Zoom for dial tone and then maybe Mitel for voicemail, or even vice versa, however you want to say that? And the answer is no. You have to choose one or the other. So if you're getting dial tone from Zoom, then you're using Zoom for voicemail. If you're getting dial tone from Mitel, you've got to use Mitel for voicemail. There's not this like we're going to send all the calls to Zoom first and then go to Mitel's voicemail client. No, it doesn't work that way. It's going to remain on the system that you're using for phone. Um, in the question of migration of the MyCollab voicemail, like migrating voicemail,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a tool. I don't think there's a tool to move them over to Zoom right now. But you wouldn't really need to, because if you integrated the phone system,
All the
if you're
settings
inter
will remain the same as you migrate
all of
over.
them, all of that remains with Mitel. So you're gonna, when I click my voicemail tab, it's just going to access Mitel's voicemail. So I'm not going to have to migrate it to Zoom. It's just there. It's going to Mitel for all of that. Assuming that's the integration method you've chosen. Now, if you were pulling the Mitel, if you're decommissioning the Mitel system and you said, I want to use Zoom Phone native now, which is dial tone from Zoom, then that would not allow you to access the Mitel system anymore, and you would need to migrate those voicemails somehow or another. And there's not like a tool to like say I'm going to put all my voicemail into Zoom, if that's what the question is.
There's another one that's similar to the answer might be the same to what you just said, but work groups, right? I know Zoom has their own queue and auto attendant IVRs and all that set up, and we can transition those settings and mimic exactly what you have in Mitel today. But the question is, how does this integrate with Mitel work groups?
With Mitel work groups, so you could send calls to it if you wanted to. If you were sending it from Zoom Phone over to Mitel work groups, you could do that. Now, if you were using Mitel work groups if you were all Mitel for phone, then there's no change there. So the operation of that will still remain the same. If you call a work group, it's still going to ring a work group. You still have DIDs going to that work group. Um, so everything remains the same in that regard. So you'll still be able to use Mitel work groups.
Okay. Now, this is a good one. If we have multiple school districts on a single phone system where some use Zoom now, but others don't, how would that work? Would all have to convert to Zoom and have enough licenses?
No, you don't. So that's this one. That's this slide, if you can still see the screen. Um, this is part of this is I think probably the best integration for now, like the coolest piece for now, because a lot of organizations are in that same situation. They have Zoom implemented in some locations with Zoom Phone. And so naturally, the thought is, oh, we got to move everybody over to Zoom Phone. That's not the case. You could still use Mitel in those existing locations and then integrate it to the other locations that use Zoom Phone. And calls will be sent between those. Directories will be synced between those. Directory will show up where I can click to dial. So if I want to say, hey, I want to call somebody over on that Mitel system, I click a button and it just rings. The end user knows no different. The end user is like, oh, I just pressed a button and it's, I'm talking to them. There's not like a big red flag that says you need to call this user on their Mitel. It's nothing like that. So it does work with between multiple schools, between multiple users, between multiple environments. You don't have to go out and rip and replace any of that. Um, it does provide a nice logical migration path, I will say, for those schools that are running Mitel. So if they do finally get to the point where they're like, all right, we've reached the end of life on this Mitel system that we've had here for many years, they can natively move over to Zoom Phone with minimal impact as well, because they're still using the Zoom client now as part of their environment. And so the lift is very minimal, and the experience to the end user is like the end user is not even going to notice much of a change on their side.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, it seems like there's like three different ways that we can move people between Mitel and Zoom. This is one here. Another one is where, hey, you just use the Mitel phones, and then you're on fully on Zoom, and
Yep.
we'll utilize those. So it depends on everyone's situation,
It
right?
does. And that's the thing. There's so many situations out there. I can't say that there's one. Mitel has a lot of platforms.
Yeah.
It was confusing when I was there, when I was at Mitel 5 years ago. Like there was a lot of platforms. There's a ton of stuff. You guys know.
And we can figure it out to make it work.
That's what we need to do. We need to have just a one-on-one conversation. We'll figure it out. It's just
Yeah.
I can't say there's this one size fits all, unfortunately. As much as I wish I could. Um, but there's a migration path for everyone.
Well, and I see two other questions here that I could even probably answer. One is how do existing POTS lines and SIP trunks still integrate in this new direction? Zoom also has a bring your own carrier situation going on as well. So if you're in a 1 year into a 3 year contract for SIP trunks, guess what? You can go ahead and keep those, and you can still access the Zoom platform and do this. Now, when that's up, would we like you to move on over? Yes, we would. But that's one of the things there. Another question here was, does this allow for existing phone trees to be retained, or can that functionality be added? John, keep me honest, but in my opinion, what we do is, if you're moving fully into Zoom, we would just simply mimic during implementation your current call tree and settings into the new system, and it would enact the same way, especially when we port the numbers. We'll have that pre-built for you. But I guess one of the questions is, John, is it possible to add their phone trees or connect Zoom with their current Mitel phone tree setup?
Yeah. So none of that changes. So important to note. You're keeping all the phone settings retained the same exact way. Like there's none of that's going to be changed. The phone piece of this is still 100% retained by what Mitel configuration is already there. All we're doing is adding all the other great things that we saw on that wheel to allow users to have additional functionality in the path of integration here. So um, the big thing to remember is like your phone, everything on the phone side remains the same. You're just getting a nice fancy new wrapper to put it on your desktop and your mobile device. So it gives you maybe a little bit more functionality there than what you had before. But yeah, and to the POTS question that you had, the plain old telephone system, the PSTN, the other component of that, it's the same thing. Like the phone system is remaining the same. Like there is no difference in how the connectivity to the outside world goes. So if you're using PSTN today, if you're using PRI today, if you're using SIP trunks today, that remains the same. So all of that stays the way it's configured. Um, and I will just kind of piggyback on that as well, because a lot of folks do use analog extensions as well. You think about all the analog opportunities within an organization. Any of those analogs, they remain the same because they're connected to that same PBX still. So none of that changes. And you can still dial those users as well from Zoom if you wanted to.
Hey, John, real quick, I know we only have like a minute left. If a 911 call was placed, can Zoom phone provide 911 call notification to facility operator?
Ray
Yes.
bombs that. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Ray bombs
Yeah,
Act and
911
Perry's law.
settings will be retained. By the way, 911 settings will be retained by the phone system. If you do use Zoom native or you're using a hybrid solution, then Zoom will provide that data as well. So regardless, like whoever is providing the phone system capabilities is what's responsible for what is Ray Bombs Act and the 911 notification that's taking place. If you move over to Zoom native, then that does take place within the Zoom client as well.
Fully compliant with the E911 practices, and Zoom is a service provider as well, so they can also hit each of the local PSAPs. One other, and this might be one of the last questions, but I did see, and I think the question was taken aback, but I did see one question that was about, what if there's a power outage and it fails? And my initial answer to that is, well, it's not about your system any longer. Your phone system is not going to go down, especially with a Zoom solution, because it's a pure cloud-based system held in the data center. It's the way that you access it that changes. Got a power outage and the desk phones don't work? Flip over to a soft phone, work from home, or use your cellular option, the app. Your phone system doesn't
Yeah,
go down.
everyone switches to mobile now when power is out. Like I just noticed that's the
Yeah.
business continuity for so many organizations. They'll just go out to mobile now. Like
So
it
you can,
is, which
yeah.
is, I mean, it's great for most organizations. They don't have to spend a ton of money on business continuity now, especially in the cloud, because you've got mobile, a fleet of people with their own personal mobile devices with the app installed. And now that's your business continuity, because that's what people, they go to the path of least resistance. They're not going to go and say, oh, I need to go to this other mechanism. It's literally just go to the mobile device. But yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the scenario for disaster recovery as well. Power outage being local, um, that's one way. Obviously, if the power outage is in the cloud and data center, then we'll fail over to another data center.
Geo-redundant data centers, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and they move over. And if you do have to switch over to your mobile application, guys, your phone system is still active. People are still going through your IVRs or your call trees, and they're still leaving voice messages. You can still take calls or be part of a work group or a hunt group or any of that. So that all that functionality is still present. So
Yeah. Hey, thanks everyone for joining today. Really appreciate you taking the time to learn about Zoom. Hope you found this informative. Please, I put an email address there, cloud@cmsc.com. Please reach out if you are truly interested in this, and we will do our best to work up exactly what you need to do. exactly what the migration path is and exactly make it as easy as possible.
And we'll
Dan,
reach
thank
out to
you.
you guys via email and with a thank you letter and then a copy of the recording of this webinar as well. So, John, thank you very much for going through all this. Eric, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys being here. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for bringing us in, Dan.